High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, November 15th. I wasn't prepared. With that said,
Sorry.
It is National Spicy Hermit Cookie Day. No idea what the fuck that means. National Raisin Bran Cereal Day. National Philanthropy Day. Go do something good for the world. National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. Holy fuck. Somebody go clean out their fridge.
Yeah, clean out your refrigerator.
In the back of there.
Yes, there's mold growing.
National Bunt Day, and I think that means like this, not the cake, but Gretchen, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And National Recyclables Day. So thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We're so thankful for each and every one of you tuning in at high noon on the East Coast and high 9 on the West. We are correspondents from around the country, and we allow for an open forum if you want to participate. Do us a solid and hit that subscribe button. Share us on your favorite social media platform, and tell a friend about something that you've learned on the news today. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and Twitch, and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're in Clubhouse, raise your hand if you have a brief comment or question on the story that we presented. But please make sure you keep the banter going in the YouTube chat box. We love your jokes. We have a great show for you all today, and we're getting some important topics going from around the globe. But first, let's pay some bills so we can get this party started, or continued as Jason's having.
You want to grow some of the best weed in the world? Then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie.
Thank you all for that. Good morning, everybody. Big shout out to DNA and, their terps not lying. Up first, we have Rico Lamitte. Rico Lamitte's a dope dad on the street. He is the founder of Cannavision, and also somebody who's continuously reminding us how being a dad and smoking the reefer can, in fact, go hand in hand, and you can be good at both. Rico, what do you have for us today?
That you can. Thank you, Nicole. My headline today is coming from MJ Moment by Kyle Yeager. Booker says marijuana reform can pass now during lame duck or many years from now after GOP takes House control. Months before his Oval Office debut, despite many years of data and science revealing the exact opposite, Joe Biden was still claiming cannabis was a gateway drug. But when Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, he decided it was time to evolve and pick up a few more voters along the way. Plant-based advocates reluctantly rallied around him following empty promises that under his control, significant reform would be made. The result? 2 years of kabuki theater, with many regretting votes for Team Blue and their newly evolved former prohibitionist leader. On a broader scale, Biden still refuses to admit that we are in a recession, while real-world Americans face hyperinflation, rising crime, a tumbling stock market, and rising interest rates. I'd argue the only thing that saved the Dems from a surefire red landslide last Tuesday was the lack of any Republican plan to do any better. In cannabis without Biden on board until about a month ago, conservatives had controlled the reform narrative for nearly 2 years now, and elections have consequences. So this January, Republicans will regain control of the House, and Democrats will have nothing substantial to show the left-leaning voters who trusted them to do what's right over that time period. Could the looming shift of power be the shot of adrenaline Democrats needed all along? Senator Cory Booker seems to think so. The New Jersey Democrat says either reform happens now during the lame duck session, or Americans will have to wait until many years from now until his party's back in control. He emphasized time being of the essence in an interview with NJ Spotlight News this Sunday when asked about advancing cannabis legislation before the 118th congressional session begins in January. There's a greater understanding on these issues, and I just have a feeling we can get something done. But the problem we have right now is the clock. He and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have been optimistically dropping hints over the last month about bipartisan plans to pass SAFE Plus, with added provisions to the OG safe banking bill, including expungements, cannabis research, and veterans access. But Sunday, he seemed less confident when he said this. When the House of Representatives takes over, even though there's a lot of House members from the states that have legalized marijuana in one way or the other, I just don't see Republicans wanting to advance that. So it's either now or it might be many years from now. So full of shit. So knowing both sides are 90% full of shit 100% of the time, I usually don't side with one party over the other, but I'm mostly on board with Booker on this one. While I agree that there does need to be a sense of urgency behind getting SAFE Plus passed in the lame duck, I'd take it a step further and say it's now or never. Democrats can't be trusted to completely get anything done for when they can't even rely on the full support of their own party. We lost 2 years of progress to Biden's stonewalling, essentially allowing Republicans to sound more willing to move forward on any type of cannabis legislation than the Democrats. Prior to federal legalization, the passage of SAFE Plus just might be the last chance to get anything substantially beneficial to communities of color that need it most. Federal implementation of social equity is DOA under Republican leadership. And if y'all believe in that old states' rights dog whistle, leaving it up to governors to build programming within their own borders, I'd like to refer everyone to 5 of last week's ballot measures. In 2022, finally eradicating slavery from their state constitutions. Real shit. But those are just my thoughts and my opinions. I'd like to hear everybody else on this one. Is Cory Booker right to be pushing for urgency behind SAFE Plus in the lame duck session? Or is it just a last second Booker to Schumer Hail Mary to salvage the last 2 years of getting not a damn thing done? This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News.
We all know that safe banking is basically going nowhere, and a lot of that is because of the fact that Cory Booker decided to grandstand on the opportunity that there was to pass it, and at the same time now there is not that same opportunity anymore.
I think it
off on the end there, Jason.
I think if they wanted to get it done, they could. But so far, Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker, who keep tossing hints, need to start doing some fucking work. I don't know what they're doing by tossing hints. They need to set their committees in action and start actually dealing with the legislation. Now,
There's lots of things I want to do too, Gretchen.
Okay. Now that that the House may shift to Republicans, which most likely it will, I do not think that cannabis is dead for the next couple of years. I really don't. I think there's too slim of a margin between Dems and Republicans for Republicans to really run away and say we're not doing a damn thing. If y'all want marijuana reform to happen, people need to put their backsides into it and actually push for it. Everyone's just sitting back, hoping, crossing their fingers, shit's going to happen. It doesn't magically fucking appear. It's just ridiculous how much people think, oh, well, now maybe they'll care because it's going to flip. They couldn't do shit for like you said, Rico, for the past 2 years. I don't see who matters.
Democrats couldn't do anything if their hands were tied behind their backs.
I mean,
okay,
that doesn't make any sense. Jason's drunk in case anybody's curious right now.
I am not drunk.
No, but Gretchen,
I'm not drunk, but I am in Vegas. That's right. It's MJ Biz week.
Okay, someone mute Jason.
Yeah, so he doesn't know what he doesn't know what mute looks like when he's been up for 24 hours straight. No, Gretchen, I agree with you so much on this, and I think one of the things that, like, I know I fucking sound like a broken record, but we're not putting any, and not to say that it wasn't important for us to start at the local level early on, right? Like it all starts at the local level, but I feel like to an extent, not to say that we're like over the idea of local, but to an extent, we're over the idea of local now. Like we need to move to the next level of pushing, of lobbying. It's no longer figuring out how to bribe the mayor of Adelanto. It's figuring out how to bribe the governor. I mean, I'm just kidding.
Bribe the governor of Adelanto. Holy shit.
Hold
on a second. The mayor of Adelanto couldn't even take bribes because he creates bribes.
It's not bribes, it's lobbying.
Are you talking about Adelanto or are you talking about Fresno? Which one?
That's right. Hey, you know what? Shout out to Anna because she knows that I'm having fun.
All of it.
The old saying is that change doesn't come from Washington. Change goes to Washington. So if you want something to happen in Washington, you need to go there. You need to rally your lawmakers. You need to get them to care. You need to make them understand that marijuana is an issue and an issue that you will vote upon and a reason for them to do their jobs. I don't think that the world of cannabis is dead. Now, since the Dems are holding the Senate, Chuck Schumer better do a goddamn thing. This fucker was pretending for this past year that he cared. Let's see if he sticks to it. But again, I don't think much major reform is going to happen with Biden in office.
Nothing's going to happen with Biden in office. If anyone is hoping for anything to happen with Biden in office, they might as well just hold their breath and hope to live.
I mean, they just need to learn to bribe him like they do with Hunter.
I don't agree with Cory Booker here is he's just trying to make it seem like, oh yeah, you guys vote for us. You guys got to rally behind us. You had the whole damn thing, the whole shebang, and you didn't do shit for 2 years. And we have to come to that conclusion. It's not Republicans versus Democrats. They got to push something forward for the people. And people need to stop saying like, oh, Republican this, Democrat this. Fuck that. They're for the people. And if they're not going to act for the people, vote them the fuck out. Doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah. Then maybe Cory Gardner should never grandstanded on safe banking in the first place. What do you think about that? Yeah, Cory Booker. Yeah, Cory Booker should have never grandstanded on safe banking in the first place. What do you think about that?
Cory says a lot of things he shouldn't.
Yeah, that's right. Gretchen stretching with Gretchen. That's right.
Speaking of saying things that we shouldn't, that's a great segue into Jason Beck. Thank you so much for that headline, Rico. I really appreciate it. And I definitely think we're going to have to keep talking about this. But up next, speaking of people that say things that they shouldn't, Jason Beck. Jason Beck's the longest running retailer in the history of regulated cannabis, member of whatever political party might piss you off the most, and the most likely person to say something that will offend you within the next hour. Let's go, Jason Beck. What do you have?
Hold on. I'm gonna say something that's gonna offend you even in less time than that. I have multiples betted on that is time insured, protected. That's right, because I'm a gamer and I'm a gambler. But nonetheless, I have a serious story for all of you guys because there's big news happening in Washington, D.C. today because the Global Alliance for Cannabis Commerce discusses federal and state cannabis policy ahead of a congressional hearing and testimony. That's right. According to the House Oversight Committee website, Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat of Maryland, and Nancy Mace, Republican of South Carolina, will hold a hearing to examine the many benefits of cannabis decriminalization at the federal level, including assessing racial disparities and the criminal injustices of the justice system, improving treatment options for veterans, and allowing marijuana companies to access traditional banking services. Witnesses include none other than the Amber Littlejohn, Senior Policy Advisor for the Global Alliance for Cannabis Commerce, GACC, Randall Woodfin, Mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, and Paul Aramanto, Deputy Director of the National Organization of the Reform of Marijuana Laws, aka NORML. Andrew Freeman, Executive Director of the Coalition of Cannabis Policy, Education, and Regulation. Eric Gopal, Founder and CEO of Veterans Cannabis Coalition. Keita Haynes, Senior Advisor at Free Hearts. And Jillian Snyder, Senior Policy Director at Criminal Justice and Civil Liberties Union at R Street Institute. Mayor said the group is open to discussing various topics and approaches to achieving goals in the cannabis industry. We support very expressly the pieces of legislation as GACC and the MORE Act, the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, the MORE Act, the Stakes Reform Act, SRA, Safe Banking Act, Meyer said. Those are kinds of your big vehicles when you talk about good and perfect calculations for what the industry should be supporting. So when we look at bills, we don't necessarily look at the party or those things. We look at the policy questions, Meyer said. Incremental measures such as safe banking, which allows already achieved large bipartisan support, can allow for cannabis advocates to put a foot in the door. And I totally agree with that. That's our foot in the door with lawmakers. Channeling volatile, Myers added, the goal politically is never to make the good the enemy of the perfect, but to make sure that it is on intellectual consistency as well as how to do that. Little John, the witness for GACC, is a licensed attorney and past executive director of the Minority Cannabis Business Association. She authored the Minority Cannabis Business Association Social Equity Report that reported on every state's program, Meyer said. So she's really probably one of the best, most prominent voices on federal social equity questions as reference. Khan said the topics on social equity and social justice are integral to any conversation about legalization advancing the cannabis industry. You can have the conversation with one and without or others say. The other conversation isn't really accepted and the other stakeholders and interested parties, Khan said. So we fully expect them to go straight ahead into a lot of those issues, which again, in other reasons why Amber said in her background is the absolute perfect representative for this specific hearing, understanding from a policy perspective a lot of, again, and that substantiative and practical work product we're characterizing. Excuse me.
Oh my fucking God, I was waiting.
That was
bro, that's not even a sentence.
Hold on. I'm reading.
You
I'm
guys
There can't be any
I'm
more
reading
of that. It's impossible.
Just tell us what room number, because I feel like we're obligated to call someone now.
I know, we need to call help.
Somebody
Jason
send him a guest.
You know what?
He already has a guest, apparently.
You know what? I am my only guest. Okay. I love that you guys are enjoying this so much. And the reality of it is this: there's major hearings happening today on Capitol Hill. And GACC was the only trade organization allowed to come and testify before this committee. And so I do want to read one other part.
That's just not true. What are you talking about? You just read off like 10 witnesses.
I did read all the witnesses, and I'm talking about.
All right.
You know what? Gretchen, why don't you just go into it since you have so much to say?
I ain't got much to say.
Why don't you just go in since you have so much to say?
I just want you to stop talking. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, right. No one ever wants me to stop talking, Gretchen.
Oh, bless your heart, Jason. Anyway.
So ridiculous that you would even say that.
I think that it's a good thing that these folks are having a hearing. I don't think it's going to do very much, especially with Nancy Mace at the helm. We shall see.
Out. Nancy Mace is a fucking champion.
Did you read the part at the end where Khan, who wrote an opinion piece titled "Rescheduling is recriminalizing, descheduling is decriminalizing," and this is something that I definitely want to make sure that we don't miss the actual point of Jason's article in the process of laughing
Thank you,
at
Nicole.
him.
Thank you, Nicole.
So that last piece is really important for us to understand. Rescheduling is recriminalizing. So if we take this to any other schedule, we will be giving our precious plant and all of his fucking
our
work
rights,
that we've doing,
everything.
to the medical industry, to the FDA, who is literally just going
to the pharmaceutical industry, not the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry
specifically.
That's right.
Who's just going to
we are
use
going to
and abuse
recriminalize
the
cannabis,
entire thing.
and we're giving them all hell in a handbasket.
Well, y'all need to get ready to be criminals again, because there is no shot in hell that this Congress deschedules cannabis.
Exactly.
Not happening. And
Exactly.
if Joe Biden gets semi on board with cannabis and wants to do something, he's only going to reschedule. There's no way.
Hold on.
And
Joe
the industry will be
Biden.
like, yay,
Joe Biden is
or
only
deschedule.
semi on schedule of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Prove me wrong.
So I'd like to just add that we're outlaws, not criminals. Outlaws break unjust laws, such as the cannabis and psychedelic laws. Criminals steal things and hurt people.
I like how you worded that, Matthew Saint Germain. That was very politically correct right there.
That's because I'm an outlaw. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, we're gaming.
I'm an outlaw, baby.
Yeah, I feel like Tupac right now.
We are officially off the rails today.
You kind of seem like Tupac. I think he's dead.
We might be on the rails.
I am the Machiavelli reincarnated. Without a doubt.
Shit, Jason's coming out as Tupac, you guys.
That's right. 2 rails is enough, not the third. All right.
I do think this will be a good opportunity to educate lawmakers. Yes. I mean, I hope that these witnesses have some quality messages to bring to them, because I guarantee you 99% of lawmakers don't understand cannabis, the industry.
They don't.
And the implications of what they are doing on the Hill. So,
you know what, Gretchen, you're 100% right about
Amber will
that.
be very helpful, as well as the other 10 witnesses that you don't think exist.
I will guarantee that Amber Littlejohn is probably the most effective witness that they're going to call to the stand.
Amber is amazing. And
shout out to Amber Littlejohn. Shout out to all the work of the GACC, and shout out to all the people that are actually going to come and testify, because this is a serious thing, and we do not want to make light of it in the light of the fact that it is MJ Biz Week, and I'm here in Vegas.
Amber Littlejohn doesn't like to answer the tough questions. Just saying.
Yeah. You like to say that all the time, Rico. You like to throw all that bullshit out there.
I got tape of it. So
yeah,
all right. Anyways, as a felon,
the tail of the tape.
The woman formerly known as Jail Google dedicated her life to paying forward the knowledge learned. 30 days locked up in a Colorado cell forward, because she never wants you to end up in the same place. She's now a Long Beach-based agriculture, efficiency and compliance expert, and part-time student working on a doctorate in dirtbag dynamics over at LBCC. Up next, the self-described general data bitch herself, Nicole West. What you got for us?
Professor Dirtbag at your service. My headline today is actually
Professor Dirtbag.
My headline today is actually coming out of AP, and this is like an ironic headline to me, because it says the DEA's most corrupt agent, party, sex, and amid an unwinnable war. I'm going to say this is the DEA's most corrupt agent that was caught, because I'm 100% certain that this is not the worst that the DEA has ever done. Now, I'm going to read some stuff about this, and now I'm not condoning this type of behavior, although some of it looks like a lot of fucking fun. I'm definitely saying that this is not something that the DEA should be doing, but also something that the DEA is for sure doing. And this person is, falling on the sword in my mind, but I'm certain, and anybody who's ever watched corruption doesn't happen all by itself. Okay. So that's a first statement. So, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Jose Azari accepts that he is known as the most corrupt agent in the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration history, admitting that he became another man in conspiring with Colombian cartels to build a lavish lifestyle of expensive sport cars, Tiffany jewels, and trips around the world. But as he used his final hours of freedom to tell the story to the Associated Press, Azari says he won't go down for this alone, accusing some long-trusted DEA colleagues, of course he's gonna bring you down, of joining him on skimming millions of dollars from the drug money laundering stings to fund decades worth of luxury overseas travel, fine dining, top seats at sporting events, and frat house-style debauchery. The way that Azari tells the story, dozens of the federal agents, prosecutors, informants, and even some cases cartel smugglers themselves were all in a three-continent joyride known as Team America. Fuck yeah! That chose that chose cities for money laundering, pickups mostly for party purposes, or to coincide with the Real Madrid soccer Rafael Nadal tennis matches. Apparently, they were following specific athletes too. That included stops along the way to VIP rooms of Caribbean strip joints, Amsterdam red light districts, fun, and a broad Colombian yacht that launched was a plenty of booze and more than a dozen prostitutes. We had free access to whatever we wanted, the 48-year-old Azari told the AP in a series of interviews before beginning the 12-year federal prison sentence. We would generate money, pickups in places that we wanted to go. And once we got there, we were drinking and partying with the girls. All of this revelry was rooted in what Azari said, in a crushing realization among DEA agents around the world that there's nothing that they can do to make a dent on the war on drugs. Because in fact, drugs are winning the war on drugs. You can't win an unwinnable war. DEA knows this, and the agents know this, Azari said. There was so much dope leaving Colombia and so much money. We know that we're not making a difference. The drug war is a game. It's a very fun game, and we're playing it, he says. Azari's story, which some former colleagues have attacked and fictionalized to make an attempt to reduce his sentence, came in days of contrite, bitter, and sometimes tearful interviews with the AP, an historic quarter of his narrative in San Juan. It was as much the same account he gave the FBI in a lengthy debriefing and sealed court papers obtained by the AP after pleading guilty in 2020 to 19 corruption counts, including money laundering and bank fraud. So the expanding investigation comes as the nation's premier narcotics law enforcement agency has been rattled by repeated misconduct scandals in its 4,600 agent rakes, from ones who have taken bribes from traffickers to another accused of leaking confidential information to law enforcement targets. But by far the biggest black eye is Azari, whose wholesale betrayal of the badge is at heart an ongoing internal review of the DEA's sprawling foreign operations in over 69 countries. One standout agent has accused some former colleagues in the DEA Miami-based groups of lining their pockets and falsifying records to replenish the slush fund used in foreign jaunts over a better part of a decade. Now, I just want to say I'm super not surprised by this happening. This story goes on and on about the insane amounts of debauchery that happened. There's a point in the article where he says, authorities are so focused on Zambaros that they also subpoenaed his brother, a Florida wedding photographer who traveled and partied around the world with the DEA agents, and even granted him immunity to introduce his cooperation. But Michael Zambaros also refused to testify and has been jailed outside of Tampa since March for civil contempt, an exceedingly rare pressure tactic that underscores the rising temperature of this investigation. I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm not going to talk about my brother, Michael Zambaros told AP in a jailhouse interview. I'm basically being held as a political prisoner of the FBI, and they want to coerce me into cooperating, and that's just not going to happen. Some current and former DEA agents say Azari's claims are overblown or flat-out fabrications. The former ICE agent scoffed at Azari's accusations that he took a $20,000 bribe, saying he raised early red flags about Azari. And the lawyer for the Zambaros brothers says the prosecutors are on a fishing expedition to bring more indictments because this is an embarrassment to the scandal. So there's a couple pictures of money that they got, and they're calling this money as a part of an organization, a project called Operation Whitewash, which I think is pretty fucking crazy, but it was all based around a cocaine sting out of Colombia. Another key part of the education came from Diego Marin, a longtime U.S. informant known to the investigators as Colombia's contraband king, for allegedly laundering dope money through the imported appliances and other goods. Azari said Marin taught him better than any agent ever could have, and the nuisance of the black market Paso exchange used in the narcotic trafficking across the world. So I'm curious what everyone has to say about this. Again, I think this is just the most corrupt DEA agent to get caught, and I do think that there is likely a lot of truth behind the crap that he is snitching on all his friends about right now. And I'm Nicole West, getting high, not as high as Jason, at 9 with y'all.
Man,
hashtag stop snitching.
All I gotta say about this is decentralize
stop
everything.
snitching.
Decentralize the government. There's just I'm not really surprised at any of this shit. And there's way more. There's way more
Hold on.
quote,
I mean,
Rico, I
all of
have to ask you a serious question.
There's way more quote unquote rogue agents than this guy.
I have to ask you a serious question, Rico.
Ask.
Doesn't the guy in the picture in this article, doesn't he look like the Mexican guy that's part of the Backpack Boys? see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
there's more quote unquote rogue agents out there. This is just like, and this is
I take your silence as I'm right.
At work put forth to stop like global cartels and shit. Like there's more of this shit going on, and we need.
Of course, this is going on. This is all. I mean, everything they described is going to happen this week at BizCon too, right?
Without exactly. Hold on, I'm already here, Robbie. Where are you
Jason,
at?
who gave you that bag, Jason? Who gave it to you?
What bag? I have no bags.
Oh my god.
I only have a bag full of money, just like the strippers and single moms I was hanging out with last night.
Jason, I am not a single mother.
I was with you in the earlier part of the evening, Gretchen. I was with you in the earlier part of the evening, Gretchen, but you totally missed out on the after party.
Oh, thank God. I'm on East Coast time. I can hang for all that
shit. Yeah. You got your curlers in, but I'll tell you what, I had my curlers in too.
Well, everyone knows how expensive partying is, so let's take a break so we can pay some bills.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Partying is expensive.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
The thoughts and opinions of General Shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or its authorities. Views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Their sponsors do not imply or constitute the endorsement by us the expression of any opinion whatsoever, any part of any speaker on stage. If you're an easily offended person, the show's probably not for you, and you probably shouldn't go to MJ BizCon.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world, then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
She's a spicy, red-headed conservative known in D.C. circles for cooking up excellence in the kitchen. But when it comes to Las Vegas, she's got more talents, allegedly, that we were unaware of, that, may or may not have happened last night. But she never backs down from a good verbal sparring session from anyone across the aisle that is willing to challenge her. Even though she's got a little too much love for Fox News, and the founder of Podoptic Strategies is coming to the stage next, our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us?
Don't hate on Mayflower stories, Rico.
From a good old MJ Biz, I'm having fun, but clearly not as much as Jason. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. Attorney General pressed to enact marijuana non-enforcement policy for DC. A coalition of local, state, and national advocacy organizations.
Your connection.
All right, I thought I was high, like Jason, for a second. Yeah. You're like
Gretchen, what's going on with your internet connection over there? What's going on?
Bitch, what do you want from me?
Wait, it's better now.
I expect more. I expect more because I'm over here at a real hotel.
Oh my God!
And I have real internet, and I'm broadcasting live with my microphone.
I feel like you're hearing better. I feel like we're hearing you better. Try again.
All right, go ahead, Gretchen. Let's try again.
All right.
Are you using Chrome?
You people took all my thunder.
Everybody mute yourself. That's on stage too. Jason, mute yourself.
All right, I'm trying to get a coalition of local, state, and national advocacy organizations. Is that asking me? No, sucking.
No.
All right.
Maybe it's the muting.
Hear me through the story. The nutshell is that a bunch of organizations got together, 74 of them, sent a letter to the Attorney General and said, "Stop fucking with DC. Let us have our regulated market." Just like everywhere else in the world, the feds have kept their hands off cannabis. Why are they all balls deep into cannabis in Washington? So that's what they're pressing for. It ain't gonna work. This is Gretchen from the Marriott with crappy Wi-Fi.
I think
Hold on.
Eric Garland is getting pressed. Eric Garland is getting pressed.
Merrick, what'd you say?
Is that what the story is about?
Yes.
Merrick Garland, whatever. Yeah, Mr. Garland. The guy who could have been a Supreme Court judge but got canceled out.
Anyway.
Because of who did that again?
Who sent him notices?
Yeah, Republicans.
It's because he wouldn't have made a good judge.
Dear God Almighty, does anyone care about my story?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say
I always care.
That he says the status quo is preventing DC from being able to implement consumer health and safety measures, which has serious consequences to DC residents. I thought that was interesting, and I think that that's across the nation. The truth, right? Like the status quo, like where we are now is keeping us
DC,
from being able to do.
I'd say DC is even worse because DC has the I-71 compliance shops, which are very gray, but have to follow. Jason, shut the fuck up. The point is they aren't regulated at all. At least medical dispensaries in DC have some regulations, but then we also have over 100 I-71 shops that have no regs that people can walk into.
Zero regulation. It's like selling Delta 8 in a gas station.
And it's not Delta 8. They sell real product, Jason.
And that's
I know that's my whole point.
And that's just, and you said that's a gray area, right? Like they're not technically legal, but they're not illegal exactly because of the way that the law was set up, correct?
Right. You're making donations when you go in and purchase this.
So like California, 215 days. I mean, there were some that would argue, there were some that would argue that we had more opportunity to help people in the 215 days.
We had way more opportunity to help people, and there were way more people helped during those days than as opposed to now. That's just reality.
I don't know. I mean, bro, look at
I know 100%.
You're helping actively 150 veterans from your store every day, and the Weed for Warriors are helping.
And I helped even more prior to that
with getting pounds of weed every month.
Yep, pounds of weed.
I don't know.
Yes, Nicole West.
Most people weren't doing that. Most people weren't. So I got
pounds of weed all day to give away for people.
Go stand in line. Jason Beck's giving out pounds of weed. Anybody see him?
That's right. I'm giving out pounds of weed.
No, but the balancing act, right? Where when we get to full regulation, we get to a place where it becomes much more difficult to actually help people from the inside. But then from like an actual consumer safety standpoint, like without regulations, we're just, probably smoking a bunch of mycobutanol. And if anybody doesn't know, Eagle 20 is really bad for your fucking brain when it combusts that shit. Mycobutanol is no joke. And so there's a lot of chemicals and things that are concerned that without proper regulation that we'll have. But in the same breath, more people, and you hear it from Jason Beck himself, he was able to help more people, and he's helping a lot of people under regulation. And if you're saying that genuinely, not just because you're still fucked up from last night, you're being real, that's something to be
yes.
Yeah, that's something to be considered. But then at the same time, how many people were actually doing that back in those days?
I think
not a lot, but
financial incentive for people to do the right thing.
Well, I mean, there is some financial incentive, but we're not going to go into all of that.
It's a penalty.
But does anyone think that
opposite of a penalty?
Hold on. Does anyone think that Michael Butanol sounds like a Super Bowl champion of a name?
Michael Butanol?
Like that should be a quarterback of a Super Bowl champion. Right there. Yes.
Serial killer to me.
Yeah. Discount double check with
Michael Butanol does sound like a serial killer. He is. That's a good statement. Michael Butanol is a serial killer.
I feel a skit coming on,
man. Don't worry, Rico. We're out here in MJ Biz, and we'll be able to do a skit real soon, buddy. As soon as you get out here. Yes. The eagle has landed. The eagle has landed.
But Gretchen, to your article, do you think the pressure makes any difference to Merrick? All of a sudden, Jason cares how we fucking pronounce something. Merrick.
I know Merrick. I know that company.
Bro, your name was Eric.
I think Merrick does
they
what Joe
consult
Biden
with
tells
me
him to do.
Okay.
That's right.
And Joe Biden left it in his budget for DC to still be stuck in this limbo.
So it's just a political football as of this point.
It's a federal district, and frankly, so I don't think it's looked upon the same way at all as the other states. And I think Joe Biden definitely does not want tourists coming to the nation's capital and seeing dispensaries everywhere and people lighting up.
Gretchen,
I think that would.
Sleepy Joe doesn't want everybody to be able to sleep at night. Basically, is what they're saying.
Washington D.C. a state instead of a district.
No, they should not. Washington D.C. is not a state. It should never be a state.
There is more
That's all total bullshit.
a chance of Joe Biden descheduling and doing dab rips on the White House.
That's right.
More people
I'm going to agree with Gretchen on that.
Than there is in both Dakotas.
Ugh.
You know what, Rico, you're totally out of balance and out of.
Am I out of balance, or are you out of balance, Jason? Have you?
No.
Oh, bro,
First of all, I have no balance, and that's why we even know that I'm more in balance on this issue than you are.
Jason,
that's how we know that.
Back.
Yes.
I'm gonna call my attorney to the stage. What a great segue.
Nicole's gonna call a friend. Robbie, what do you have to say about this, attorney of law?
I'm gonna introduce Robbie for the next article. Thank you so much for that.
I need a murder, she wrote.
Thank you so much for that headline story, Gretchen.
For my soundboard.
We're trying to follow without Jason interrupting us completely, but thank you for that commentary. So Robbie Pinaminini, this cannabis investor, business developer, and licensing attorney, spends all of his days calling the shot on what's next as the head of California operations of the delivery machine that is Ease, and his nights recovering from the mentally exhausting days of the regulatory gymnastics as a lawyer and trusted advisor. Robbie, I'm sorry you have to deal with our chaos today, but thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, everyone. Jason, see you soon en route to BizCon. So looking forward to catching up and attending some seminars with you. Today's headline is the California Department of Cannabis Control outlines regulatory revisions. California Department of Cannabis Control, DCC, officials have outlined a series of cannabis regulations revisions to provide simplification, ease licensing challenges, and bolster consumer protections. The adoption of these regulations represent DCC's commitment to advance rational regulatory improvements that remove unnecessary and burdensome regulatory challenges for cannabis operators and advance protections for consumers, DCC Director Nicole Elliott said. I want to applaud the contributions of our many partners, including our licensees, public health officials, and local cannabis regulators for providing valuable feedback and input during this important process. The regulatory revisions per authorities include addressing enhanced consumer and youth protections by restricting harmful ingredients and youth-friendly flavoring in inhalable products and expanding prohibitions on marketing, advertising, and merchandise attractive to youth. The DCC indicated state licensing requirements will be simplified through revised regulatory measures that include eliminating the requirement to provide extensive financial documentation and removing the requirement for businesses to continuously update lists of low-level investors. According to the DCC, the state agency would support licensed cannabis business success through greater flexibility that includes providing outdoor cultivators with flexibility to utilize traditional light deprivation without requiring a license change, and expanding opportunities for farmers and product manufacturers to participate in cannabis events and showcase products to consumers. So, I think this is sort of like, another step by the DCC to sort of address things that maybe are shouldn't be as high on the list of things to address. I think the industry is, in much more dire straits, and there's a lot of other areas, particularly enforcement, taxation, social equity, areas that I think have a big flop statewide that the DCC could focus on. But again, at least a step is a step, I guess.
So did it mention the new tax regulations for 2023? Because I think that's going to be an interesting changeover here in California. In California, we had a system where our excise tax is being regulated currently by the distributor. So it's really fucking stupid, but this is how we manage our taxes here in California currently, but that will be changing. So I'm a grower. Okay, and we recently just not eliminated, but sunsetted the cultivation tax. So it's not over. We didn't say that it's going away. We put it down for a little bit. The sun might rise again someday.
Bye, Felicia.
So we used to have a cultivation tax, right? So we had to pay based on the ounces of product that we were selling. The cultivator had to pay, but the cultivator had to pay the distributor. Okay, so then the distributor would collect the money based on what the cultivator sent them. But the actual cultivation tax was due off of what was being sold to retail. So there would often be this like middle amount of money that technically the cultivator didn't need to pay. So they got rid of that. And that was as of this year. But next year, they're getting rid of the next step, which is, well, they're not getting rid of it, they're shifting it. Currently, when a distributor sells weed to a retailer, right? I sell my flower to a store. So let's say I'm a distributor and I'm selling it to Jason's dispensary. Jason pays me for the product and he advance pays the excise tax. Okay. And the excise tax here in California is
really
15% of the current assumptive markup if you're in an arm's length transaction.
27%.
So 15% of the assumed rate, and the assumed rate currently in 2022 is 80%. It used to be 60%, so don't stick that 27% in your mind. You have to understand what the assumed
27%, and it's about to jump to 32.
Stop. You have to understand what the assumed markup rate is. The assumed markup rate is being readjusted from 80% markup to 100% markup. So that 100% markup, we're now going to make that adjustment, and we're going to tax that product based off of what that product is being sold to the distributor at, or sold to the retailer at. And the retailer would pay in advance. Now, sometimes you don't sell all those products, right? So say I bought 10 pounds and 1 pound, I ended up, it went bad or it spoiled. It expired, the testing expired, or somebody fucked it up and it got messed up, and so we just threw it away. Somebody accidentally opened it, whatever that case might be. There's a pound of product that didn't get sold, but I already paid my excise tax on it. So now I'm overpaying my excise to a distributor who's paying that to the state of California. And the only way to get that balanced out is to ask for your money back. And nobody's properly balancing their books to
no one's
consider
gonna ask that
right?
From the state of California.
So moving as of 2023, the new regulation is that the retailer is now going to be responsible as of January 1st for paying their own excise tax on a quarterly basis based on what was sold, which makes a hell of a lot more sense, right? Because if I bought 10 pounds and I only sold 9 pounds, I shouldn't have to pay excise tax on the 10 pounds. And if I bought 10 pounds this quarter and it took me a year to fucking sell, I shouldn't have to pay excise tax on the entire thing prior to me being able to sell it. So now I'm going to be able to pay my excise tax as the products go along. So that to me is probably one of the more exciting changes for 2023. I do think it is valuable that they're not going to require people to continuously change when there's a weird investor. The way the law is written right now, if you make money, and so this change will allow for commission structures to be available. So currently under this current regulation, if you make money off of the sale of cannabis, you are considered in the state of California's eyes as what's considered a financial interest holder, and you have to be listed on applications and on the license as a financial interest holder. And so the state considers commission-based sales financial interest. And so as of next year, we won't have to list people making commission-based sales in that whole rigmarole as well, which I think is pretty exciting.
Question, Nicole.
And I think the implication of this is there's going to be a lot of enforcement against retailers to pay this.
Fuck yeah.
Tax. And so, like,
hold on.
You think the CDTF was kicking down doors before?
Hold on.
I think by the end of Q1 of next year, we're going to see a lot of distressed retail coming onto the market, going out of business. Yep. So, I think that's one of the major implications.
But this is creating an even bigger problem in the supply chain.
What?
Because retailers at this point are not purchasing new product because they want to liquidate all of their product that they have on the shelf as much as they possibly can, because that is the only product that they've paid in advance on the excise tax. And then as of January 1, when retailers have to start paying the excise tax based off of products sold, there is the big possibility that they're paying a double tax on a lot of the product in inventory. And so, Nicole, Jason, how does the DCC intend to rectify that?
Jason, I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm gonna try to skirt. I'm gonna try to skirt extra language here, so I'm not like promoting a product or anything like that. But we actually did a study just for that at Happy Cabbage, company I work with right now, and we found that on average, 50% of cash for every retailer is tied up in inventory. So I'm glad you said that, Jason. It's tied up in inventory, and a lot of people
what do you expect
do
me to
not
say,
have
Rico?
the expertise on hand to actually find out like what they should be
I
getting
only
rid of,
speak
what they should be re-upping on,
truthisms.
and everything's being skewed by a bunch of fucking bullshit marketing right now. So there is a day of reckoning coming, and just like you said, Robbie, there's going to be a lot of blood in the water come Q1.
Robbie, what do you think? What do you think about this, Robbie? How is the CDFTA going to be able to rectify this double taxation? Because it's over taxation without representation is what the cannabis industry is facing.
I don't think they care.
And we should just throw all of our weed out into the ocean as the Boston Tea Party did.
Dude, remember when Elliot burned all that weed? That was
Yeah,
fun.
I'm all, but I think we should just throw all the weed, especially all the outdoor weed, out into the ocean, and just tell them just to go fuck off with your taxes, and make the Coastal Commission just freak out.
So I do want to answer your initial question in regards to how are people going to tell the difference. When you pull a tax report in majority of point of sale systems are already ready. So anybody that's fully integrated in California for point of sale is pretty much aware of what's happening. The good point of sale systems have a way for you to pull your tax report after 2023. That'll be pre-2023 purchase, post-2023 purchase. So you'll have a timestamp on when that product was brought into your system. So you'll be able to see that difference. And at the end of the day, the consumer paying the excise tax, it doesn't make a difference to the consumer. They're not going to be double taxed. You're still only going to have.
I agree with that part. Yeah, I agree with that part. But the point, how much is it going to cost a business, Nicole, to actually rectify the books and make sure that the state has received all the money that they're supposed to make?
That would be assuming that their books were right in the first place, Jason. So
Fair
I'm going to say
enough.
97% of the industry doesn't have that. So
it's going to be
I just want to know how much do you estimate it's going to cost?
Yeah,
how much do you estimate it's going to cost a business to figure it out?
Retail, right?
No, it's the.
Is it going to cost $300 an hour?
No, bro,
$800 an hour?
It's not that hard. I could figure it out. It's not that hard. It's not that deep. It really isn't. The ability to show the number of items, taxed items that were purchased prior to 2023, taxed items that were purchased post 2023. And you write the CDTFA, not the CDFTA, the CDTFA, you write them a check for that difference. That's all.
That's how.
I don't know. That sounds way too. I'm not buying that answer.
Anything that easy?
Yeah. I want to know how much is it going to cost a business to rectify their books.
However much you pay your accountant, and real life, no one's books are right in the first place. So this will be a great opportunity for you to say that this is why it's fucked up.
So it's like testing.
Use it as
basically
a
what you're saying.
Because
testing, your bookkeeping is like testing. Yeah, that's right. The smirk tells me everything, Nicole. The smirk tells it all.
All right.
Yes, that's right.
All right. So up next. He's an immortal cannabis wizard with Transylvanian roots, chronicled globally by royal scribes throughout history for doing his damnedest to continue the work of the original merry pranksters in the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. Coming to the stage is the co-host of What's Good, a dude who dedicated the last 33 years to cannabis sales, genetics, and cultivation that's earned him a Hogwarts PhD in tripping balls. It's the Count, Matthew St. Germain. What you got for us, my man?
Thanks, Brother Rico. I've got a great one today. Marijuana for pain. A scientist reveals how weed engages our natural opioid system. This is from a new website I found called inverse.com. So drug overdose deaths from opioids continue to rise in the U.S. due to the misuse of prescription opioids in the illicit drug market. But an interesting trend has developed. Opioid emergency room visits dropped by nearly 8%, and opioid prescriptions are modestly lower in states where marijuana is legalized. Many marijuana users say they take it to treat pain, suggesting that readily available cannabinoids could potentially be used to offset the use of opioids, such as morphine, oxycodone, fentanyl, etc. Research suggests that cannabis use could also lessen the need for opioids directly by interacting with the body's natural opioid system to produce similar pain relief effects. Our bodies have their own built-in opioid system that can aid in managing pain. These opioids, such as endorphins, are chemicals that are released when the body experiences stress, such as strenuous exercise, as well as in response to pleasurable activities like eating a good meal. Opioids, whether naturally produced or synthetic, produce pain relief by binding to specific receptors in the body, which act like a lock that can only be opened by an opioid key. One such receptor, known as the mu opioid receptor, is found on pain-transmitting nerve cells along the spinal cord. When activated, mu receptors tamp down the cell's ability to relay pain information. Thus, when these opioids are circulating in the body, they reach the receptor. Stimuli that would normally cause pain are not transmitted to the brain. These same receptors are also found in the brain. When opioids find this receptor, the brain releases dopamine, the so-called feel-good chemical. This is in part why opioids can be highly addicting, because people get addicted to dopamine. Both THC and CBD have been shown in numerous studies to lessen pain, though importantly, they differ in which receptors they bind to in order to produce these effects. THC binds to the cannabinoid receptors that are located throughout the central nervous system, producing a variety of responses. One of those responses is the high associated with cannabis use, and another is pain relief. Additionally, THC is believed to reduce inflammation, similarly to anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen. In contrast, CBD appears to bind to several distinct receptors, and many of these receptors play an important role in pain reduction. Importantly, this occurs without the high that occurs with THC. And because they target different receptors, THC and CBD are more effective working in concert than working alone. Along with the pairing of THC and CBD, researchers are beginning to explore the use of these two cannabinoids together with existing opioids for pain management. This research is being done in both human and animal models. For example, one study tested the combination of smoked cannabis and OxyContin for pain relief and reward. It found that co-treatment enhanced pain relief, but also increased the pleasure of the drugs. And this study tried to make that sound like it was a bad thing, but we're still dealing with our puritanical roots and people being so averse to pleasure in America. However, many more studies of this type will be necessary to understand if cannabinoids and opioids can be safely used together for pain. Still, using cannabinoids as a substitution for opioids remains a promising pain treatment strategy. I really like this article because we're seeing more and more science coming and buttressing the fact of what we already knew, which is cannabis is an amazing healing medicine, far safer than even these NSAIDs, like ibuprofen and acetaminophen that they were talking about, far less taxing on your liver. And getting anyone off of opioids and harder drugs that are both physically and psychologically addictive, I think is a good thing. This is Old St. Germain for High at 9 News, about to get on a plane to Vegas. What do you guys think?
I feel like this is an echo of the things that I feel in my heart. This is a scientific study about the things that I'm not smart enough to be able to properly articulate on a medical level, but I know on a physical level.
I mean, is this new? I feel like this is something we've sort of known. Or is this?
Well,
I guess I'm not understanding.
A lot of people in the cannabis industry have known it, but there haven't been that many double-blind, peer-reviewed studies published in medical journals that highlight the same thing. And so, really, this just backs up all the anecdotes that we've been hearing, from friends, from patients in cannabis stores, et cetera, for years. But this is the type of thing we need to sway those that don't use cannabis, may have a prohibitionist mindset. When we get into peer-reviewed science, now we're getting into much more, provable from a third-party certified methodology that these things are actually efficacious for all types of medical need.
I think it's crazy, like how many things are being proven by science now, like literally generations after motherfuckers in the mountains found this shit.
Truth, man. The Rastas told me in the early 90s when I moved to Venice that herb was the healing of the nations, and they described all these things to me back then when I was getting into like ITAL food and ITAL living, organic living, and it turns out the Rastas were right all along.
Yeah, shout out to the ITALs. That's my wife's father, he died 3 years ago, was the lead singer of the ITALs, two-time.
Wow.
Really?
Fun fact. Yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
That's a great band.
Tis. Second wave roots reggae. Shout outs to roots reggae. Yeah. No, but I'm all about this, man. Thank you for bringing up this article, Matthew. And it does help us bridge that gap between legacy cannabis culture and all the new people, tiptoeing into our world. Like, my only gripe about it is a lot of these scientific studies and everything, they're not really paying homage to the people who came up with these theories first. Right. I think that would be an awesome olive branch to give to, the weed shamans, the Rastas, and the old grannies and everything who actually use these remedies for generations upon generations. I think that would be kind of cool, but we probably won't see it.
Well, then it's contingent upon us to keep that oral history going and to make sure that the new folks know. Catch me in front of MJ BizCon under the olive tree smoking weed and telling people how it used to be, how it was, and how it is now.
And you said, right, you said cash you outside, right?
Shit, I did.
Everybody in the convention center, catch him outside.
I think Jason's sleeping.
Oh,
I think he's sleeping. Are you sleeping in an upright
he needs a
position,
B12 IV.
Jason?
Fucking unmute my fucking mic.
Get that man a B12 IV.
Mute my fucking mic. Jesus fucking Christ. People are trying to silence me. The left is trying to silence me.
Fake news.
That's right. The left is trying to silence me.
Oh my
My
God,
has
Bill,
been
you
muted.
pushed
Been
your
trying to
button.
drop so
You
many
passed out.
gems for you guys out there
What
watching.
What happened
And
was
I've been
you passed
silenced
out and you
by
didn't
the
realize
left.
You pushed the mute on accident.
Yeah, I've been silenced by the left.
Media. The lamestream
Your left
media.
hand,
Exactly.
bro. You've been silenced by your left hand.
No. My shit is not unmuted.
Jason
at
Beck
all.
is uncancelable.
It was you guys. It was you guys that tried to cancel me.
Hey, you know me, man.
The left tried to cancel me.
I ain't on either side, man.
You guys are getting paid off by Joe Biden or something, or maybe Hunter Biden offered you guys a crack pipe. Who knows?
Well, I would have to say that's a great time for us to end the show.
That's right. It's a great segment, right? Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and making the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry more tolerable for the rest of us. Thank you to the haters for still talking about us, and a huge thank you to True Classic, LAXCC, and DNA Genetics for helping us keep the lights on. Thank you to our correspondents for being amazing, and to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do this, and to 3 is 4 and Jaja for helping us out in the back end. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us, but not as high as
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.